Availability here. We have Jeff Gordon, three-time Daytona 500 champion. Jeff, you were 11th in the second session here. Tell us about your day.
Yeah, we had a good day. We just did single car runs, which was pretty much our plan, and then we'll do some drafting tomorrow. But thought it went well, and cars are driving really good by themselves, and good speed, and so yeah, it was a fun day to see this new body style out there. It looks great and drives good, and so it's an exciting way to get the season started.
All right, we'll open up to some questions. If you can just state your name and affiliation. You can start with Mike over here.
MikeHenryspeed.com. Jeff, you won the 500 here a couple times late in the 90s with some fairly ridiculous moves going down to turn one. Can you see that the possibility of that kind of racing returning with this car? Do you know enough about it yet to
if they take away that yellow line, absolutely. Some of those ridiculous moves were just because you had to go wherever the car in front of you wasn't if you had the momentum, and back then they didn't have that yellow line, so you could go down onto the apron, which made things pretty exciting and interesting. But now we're not able to do that, limits you a little bit. But I haven't drafted yet, so I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be able to do things like that. But look at the size of the spoiler, the speeds that we're running. I'm anticipating that handling is going to be a little bit more of a premium than what we've had in the past. Just because there's a little bit less downforce in the rear of the car. So, but I really won't know until tomorrow. I saw those guys drafting out there a little bit, and it looked like the cars were moving around a little bit on them. But when they got into some turbulent air. But other than that, I really can't say until get out there in those conditions.
All right, we'll go to Dwight, Alan, and then Nate.
Dwight from RaceState.com. Jeff, as far as you're coming off of bringing in your strong finish of last year, and then now we got the teams working hard on a new car. You're getting into the new car, a lot of changes and adapting to that. Could you talk a little bit about what that's like for you? Is it a big difference for you this year with all the changes?
Well, it's always great when you can carry that momentum and excitement that the team experienced in Homestead into the off season. No matter what changes are coming, whether they're very little or big changes like we've had with the new car, the team can rally around that, and it's a great boost you need a lot of energy over the off season. Those guys work really, really hard. While the drivers might get some rest, the crew chiefs and the team guys are getting very little rest because they're preparing for the new season. You add on top of that a new car, there is a lot of work to be done. We don't have a lot of these cars sitting in our shops right now. Certainly not many speedway cars. So even while we're down here, there's a lot of work happening back at the shop. So to be able to have a great finish like we had at Homestead, to take that into the off season is a big plus and big positive for us, and it's helped us stay energized through the off season to get ready for this new season. I don't think anybody's better than Hendrick Motorsports when changes come and adapting to them, and new cars and being prepared. So I feel very confident in the team and our organization to come out strong and be strong throughout the year, and that is also energizing.
Alan?
Alan Cavanna, NASCAR.com. What do you still need to learn as a driver or as a team that you want to learn in these next 3 days about this new car?
Well, you want to have a fast race car. That's always the case, and I feel like we've got pretty good speed. There's a couple cars that we have our eyes on that look like they have a little bit more speed, but things will change by the time we get back down here in February. So not too concerned with that right now. But the car's got good speed, so that's number one. The next thing is just getting the car to drive well in traffic. Cooling, that's always been heating, overheating and things like that has always been an issue down here in the last couple of years, and we anticipate, looking at the opening in the grill, that to be something we're going to have to deal with again. And then whether the tandem drafting is going to happen at all or not, doesn't appear that it is, but I still think that you have to explore it. to see if with 3 to go, if there's a green, white, checkered or something like that, that you can be prepared to do what you have to do to win the race. And you have to come down here and kind of patiently be aggressive by exploring those things now. It's better to explore them now so we know what to anticipate when we get back down here in February for speed weeks. But that's the nice thing about being in, what's it called now? Not the shootout.
Sprint Unlimited.
Yes, that one. In that race, it gives us a great opportunity to understand what we're going to be dealing with for the upcoming races, the duels, and as well as the 500.
Nate?
Nate Ryan, USA Today. Jeff, Clint Bowyer was in here at lunchtime and was talking about that apparently on New Year's Eve he was on a yacht, and so were you.
He was?
Yeah. I was wondering if we
He's
could...
on a yacht? I don't see Bowyer being on a yacht.
There's photos of it on Twitter, actually.
Really?
Yeah, believe it or not. But apparently you were also on this yacht.
I need those photos to get out there.
Was wondering if you could give your side of that, like how you ended up on the yacht, and if you and Clint had a chance to make amends at all.
The question is how he got on the yacht. That needs to be the real question. No, you know what? I mean, that's my family and I have been going down to St. Bart's for the last 4 or 5 years, and we love going down there for New Year's. And I knew that Clint and Kevin were down there because Rick Hendrick's boat was down there, and I think they were on that boat through a charter, and with some friends there. So I stopped by there to say hi one time, and they were gone. They were out, I don't know, having fun doing something. And then so I went all about my business, and on New Year's, Ingrid and I went to a couple of different parties and ended up at one, which was really the party of the year, if you ask me. I mean, it was an amazing event that P. Diddy had, and we're just hanging out, having a good time, and on walks Bowyer and Harvick and a couple other folks, and I don't know, it was a great New Year's. I enjoyed myself very much.
Stan?
Hi, Jeff. Stan Creekmore with RPMtonight.com. I look back in the history of this sport, and when we had a situation where Goodyear started changing tires, you weren't affected, Dale Earnhardt Sr. was. When we went through the COT, it looked kind of like the same story, that you were affected, that the car no longer talked to you the way Dale Earnhardt used to have his cars talk to him. How enthusiastic are you over the change, the getting rid of the COT, like Earnhardt was when Goodyear changed a tire?
Well, I think, that's just part of, when you've been in the sport long enough, you get accustomed to a certain, especially when you come into the sport, to driving the car a certain way. That's what got you there, and you adapt, you come into it, adapt to it quickly, and have success. And when things change in a big way, it's how you change along with them. And the longer you're in the sport, the harder it is for you to make those transitions. So I think the COT definitely played that kind of a role with me. If you come into it when the COT came along, you can adapt to it fairly quickly. But when you've gone through all the changes, I mean, I felt like it kind of dealt with the same thing with the big rear springs and the big front sway bars, and just took a little longer to adapt to them, but then we did, and did very well. I feel like this year it's kind of the same thing. It's all new, different car, different downforce levels, and we just have to adapt to them. Some are going to do better than others, and I hope that our team and myself make for a good combination to be able to keep up with those changes. But the car aerodynamic. I test at Charlotte next week. When I tested Charlotte last year, the rules were a little bit different. They didn't have all the downforce that the car has. It's gone through this kind of wave where it was downforce, no downforce, lots of downforce. So I look forward to getting back in the car in Charlotte next week to see what that package is like and how it drives and how our, the kind of feedback I'm able to give the team to go faster. Tire-wise, I don't remember those changes in the tires back with what you're talking about. I certainly know the changes in the tires in recent years that I haven't done a very good job at. And so maybe, I don't know, maybe it was similar to that back in the days you're talking about.
Thank you.
Go to David.
David Newton, ESPN.com. 2 questions. First, so did you and Clint leave the boat friends again, or?
I don't remember seeing him leave the boat.
You guys talked or get anything straight?
We talked. We talked.
And?
I had a great New Year's.
Okay. And second one, let's ask you, Brad Keselowski said before, I guess at the end of last year, they thought Toyota might have an advantage coming in with this new car. Can you tell at all if any manufacturer or Toyota does have an advantage yet?
Can't tell yet, until we get out there drafting. I know when we were down here, when our cars were at Talladega testing, I spoke to Casey Kane, and the shape of the nose of the Chevrolet for pushing, if it's a pushing, in tandem drafting type of race, that our noses don't seem to line up as good as some others. But and then it just comes down to cooling and getting air into the grill, which that little piece that NASCAR's added to the bottom of the rear bumpers seems to have addressed that. So I don't see where anybody has an advantage at this point.
Go to Bob in the back.
Bob Parker, Sporting News. I mean, when talking about whether one manufacturer or another has an advantage, this is definitely, there's a chance that there'll be more manufacturer lobbying now, kind of back the way it was 6, 7, 8 years ago. Do you look forward to that or not?
Well, I think NASCAR's gotten very smart over the years, but through trial and error and just experience. And you're talking about a totally different situation. I mean, I've been telling this story a lot lately about 1995 when the Monte Carlo came along, and it was a dominant race car. And it was basically taking the street version, turned it into a race car, and it was superior to the rest of the competition. And it really became a race among Chevrolets that year. That was a different greenhouse, a different rear deck lid, a different nose. I mean, this car that we have here, I think where they've gotten very smart is that they each have their own identity. They're great looking cars, but the important aspects that keep the cars as equal as possible are the same. The greenhouse, how all that air meets that rear spoiler, even though the noses have different characteristics to them, in the wind tunnel they're all very, very close. So I may be wrong, but until we get through some races, I don't think we'll really know. But usually by this point, if we felt like we were at a big disadvantage, you'd already be hearing about it. So I feel like right now we're as good as anybody out there. I don't see where anybody has any distinct advantage manufacturer-wise. But there's some pluses and minuses to that. I mean, at one point, I think that NASCAR wanted to get away from some of that, saying, well, we don't want to go through that process throughout a year where one has a distinct advantage and one's lobbying and trying to, get a little more spoiler. I remember when, there was one getting a little more spoiler, one getting more kick in the nose, all those things, and yet that also had a lot of buzz and people talking about, and really getting behind their manufacturer to try to either get them help or support the good things that were happening. So, it's always interesting trying to figure out what things are going to bring the most entertainment and excitement and draw the most attention from the media, the fans, and the viewers that are going to keep the sport great. And to me, I think we've got a great car, great looking car. It's driving very well. There's a lot of buzz. I think the racing's going to be great. I mean, I think our racing's been great. I haven't had issues with racing. I think it's been fantastic. The double file restarts help a lot keep the intensity and the racing exciting. And of course, we're always trying to think about evolution of how aerodynamics are playing a role, and that's across the board in motorsports. Just, the lead car having an advantage over the second place car, and how do we create more passing and all those things. And I still think we are so far better than the rest of the racing out there that I still think that even if we have a little bit of that aero turbulent airs and the dirty air and all that stuff, I still think our race is the best out there. So something that we can all continue to progress with.
Any more questions for Jeff?